All right, guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 2 of Coach's Corner. I'm really excited because today we've got Stephen McCain coming on to talk about nutrition and supplementation and kind of getting the most out of our performance through nutrition and what we eat. But before we go to that, let's just talk a little bit about some gymnastic stuff that's been going on this week. Number one, I think the most that I'm feeling is that actually today would have been the start of regional championships across the country. So we would all be either getting ready to compete right now or this weekend. And I know that's heavy on my heart. It's probably on most of our hearts. But one thing that I was thinking about, we as coaches, we were working to kind of get to this moment. As athletes, we work to get to that moment. We have regionals circled on our calendar as far back as October. But a huge congratulations to coaches and athletes and everybody that's doing the most through this adversity and this kind of tough time. We're all stuck at home, but I've seen in the last couple of weeks so many coaches coming up with new ways of training and pulling in Zoom workouts or FaceTime workouts, and the athletes, the students that are working at home to condition in different ways, doing different kinds of training at home and different ways of practicing your skills while you're at home is amazing. I've seen so much innovation and hard work these last couple of weeks that really congratulations goes to you guys. Super impressed at that. And I was thinking that to keep in mind, this will pass. We will be back to normal soon. We'll be back to training, but the tools that we're building now, these new ways of training at home and new ways of thinking and new ways of researching and studying our sport are going to be huge assets and tools for later on, for when we are back to normal. It's just going to be new tools that we've never had before. And so congratulations and keep it up, because this is a new level of inspiration to me in terms of how this community is coming together, which is super cool. And then also a big congratulations to UCLA's Kyla Ross, who was named 2020's Honda Sports Award this year as the top NCAA gymnast of 2020. She's so impressive and so cool to watch, and just a huge congratulations. This girl has an Olympic gold, 22 perfect tens, and 24 All-American honors. So huge congratulations to her and to UCLA for that. One more thing is that, and if you haven't seen it, NBC Sports is replaying old Olympics this week and next week. So if you're jonesing for some gymnastics on TV, there's some cool gymnastics replays of old Olympics. So today and tomorrow is 2012 in London. And then next Monday and Tuesday is the return to Beijing, which might be one of my favorite Olympics between Shawn Johnson and Nastia and the crazy amount of like Chinese bar work. So impressive. So that's a cool one to watch for sure. And then next Friday and Saturday, they're highlighting tons of gymnastics. Next Friday and Saturday is a gymnastics highlight. So with that, and speaking of Olympics and I'm excited to get to introduce Stephen McCain to the show. He went to the Sydney Olympics. He also, Stephen, when you come on, I'm going to ask you to tell this story, but I will do the best I can. Taught himself gymnastics in the grass, doing back handsprings and backflips because he was such a fan of Kung Fu movies. And then, that transitioned and translated into 13 years on the national team. Right now, he has become this nutrition and fitness guru, and has launched a website that is kind of pairing our nutritional value with supplements and how to maximize both your health and your athletic performance. And so we're super excited to bring him on. Stephen.
How are you? Thanks for having me on. I must say, you just filled me in on everything I need to know in the gymnastics world. So good job. And you even, I'm surprised how much you knew about me. I don't know where you got the kung fu history from, but that is, yeah, that's how I got started. I just believed I could do what those guys did on kung fu movies. That's what kids do, right? You know, I mean, that's why I used to go around, and when I was coaching guys at first, we were sitting between rotations, and there would be guys on other teams there, and I always made this point of asking, like, hey, how did you get started in gymnastics? Because I loved hearing the answer, and it was 9 times out of 10 always the same thing. They were climbing the walls of the furniture, and so their parents put them in gymnastics. So that's like, here's the test. Exactly what I did. Like when I swung on the shanty, it fell out of the ceiling. That's when my mom knew it was time for some outlet. So
I mean, I like flipped off of the couch when I was younger too, and my mom was like, "Nope, that's it. You're in gymnastics now. You're not going to be, taking a tumble off of the couch."
Yeah, thank God for moms. You know, they have such insight. You know, I mean, my goodness, I can't even imagine my life if my mom wouldn't have put me in gymnastics.
Yeah, and was I right on that? 11 years on the national team.
It was 12 consecutive years on the elite senior national team. Which when I look back on that now, I'm like, wow, I never thought of it at the time. And I'm like, that's kind of, wow, that's not an easy feat, you know? I mean,
I was trying about this week, who got more years than you do?
Maybe Blaine Wilson might. I think he's tied, or he's right in the pocket with me, probably, if I had to name a gymnast. There might be an international, I mean, Jordan Jacha, for crying out loud, who's the female vaulter? What's her name? He was going for her like 8th Olympics.
Chusovincia? I'll probably brutalize her name.
Chusnavitna. She was going. I just met her. I mean, I've been at competitions with her, obviously, but I actually just met her in Orlando, and I mean, I was like, Irina, because Irina's like, yeah, she's going to be there. I'm like, I have to like take a picture with her or something like that, because what a legend. I mean, it's going to be her 8th Olympics? Is that even possible? Like, this is it's mind-boggling.
Every time I watch her vault, I'm like, I don't know how you're still doing it.
Just don't ever stop. That motto. I think that's how I stayed so long in the national team. As I said, don't ever get out of shape. Don't ever stop. Because like gymnastics, it's like once you get out of shape in gymnastics, you really don't, in my opinion, especially when you don't want to get back in shape by purely just doing gymnastics. You have to like prep all the tendons and the ligaments and the helper muscles, before you really start getting that dynamic action going, because it's really hard on the body. So you need to keep that like level of adaptation.
Yeah. And so I know we wanted to talk about nutrition and your thoughts, and I wanted you to kind of go through the breakdown of how you view nutrition. And I wanted to tell you, I was talking to a friend of mine who had watched some of your other stuff, and he said, you got to ask him about how you in what nutrition is. Such a cool kind of perspective. I honestly know when you got into nutrition and kind of realizing that, oh my God, that is, such a critical part. But I think for most of us, it's like the least exciting thing to have to talk about with our sport. Like it's okay, so nutrition and like what I'm gonna eat today, like that's what we're gonna talk about. And so what's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess how I got really into nutrition was when I quit gymnastics. I've always been, as a kid, I always picked up nutrition books, and I always was enamored by like changing the physiology by food. And so I had tried over the course of like my whole life, like every different type of diet. I don't know, I was kind of into it, but it was really when and you go from being world class at something to being, I have nothing. I have no experience at anything else. I went from being like way up here to not even having any experience in any other field of work. And so for about 5 years, I floundered around and I kind of abused my health. I felt like I really would just, I leaned on the fact that I was in good shape from gymnastics, and I started noticing my health deteriorating. And then I went and got a blood test, and it turns out I was like a candidate for heart disease. I had, and the doctor was like, well, it's like we don't see too many people like you who are like in good shape, and and once you kind of look under the hood and you see that there's ramifications happening to you based on like your lifestyle or your diet. For me, it was enough to kind of catapult me into a new lifestyle. And then the beauty is as I started learning and implementing certain things to make myself here, I just started amazing. Like all of a sudden, I was like, I don't have any more inflammation or joint pain. Like I can work out. I'm recovering. I feel strong. Like my face changed. It got more like chiseled. I lost a lot of I just felt so much better. And so I just kept doubling down on learning this stuff. And so till I got to the point where I looked up and, over a decade had passed and I had practically just read every single thing out there and gotten a certification but the way I look at it is nutrition is kind of a boring word. It's more of an obligation than it is an opportunity, right? But when I think of food, I think, food is either an asset or a liability to you. So you do it every day. You have to do it every day. And so your choices that you make, depending on your knowledge and your behavior, either make food an asset or they make it a liability. And so anytime I get these people that come to me and they'll just people will refer people to me. I work with a lot of different clients in a lot of different fields, and they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, I need to get in shape and I need to lose weight and and I always ask them one question. I say, why? Why do you want to do this? And because they've gone to 10 other people and 10 other people say, well, just do this and just do that, and just do this and that. And no one's really gotten to their values and really kind of like you got to connect the reason, you got to connect the nutrition to something valuable to the person, right?
Yeah.
And so, does that make sense? And so the exercise that I like to do is I say, okay, first let's redefine nutrition. So what is, if you think about like what would nutrition offer you in your life? Like what is the exemplification? Would it be exemplified in your mind? Is it energy, longevity? Is it health, vibrance? Is it performance? Like people write those down. Like what is it? What is the result of it? What's the result? And then when they come up with some words, that really mean something to them, I sort of say, okay, now we've kind of redefined it from this word nutrition. It's so clinical, right? It's kind of boring again.
It's like the stuff you have to do.
Yeah, exactly. And instead what we can do is we can redefine it, and then we can say, okay, now let's say you redefine it as, health and performance. Like I like it. I'm like, man, I want to live in this body. It's the only one I get. I want it to be optimal for the rest of my life. I don't want to ever be limited by my capabilities. I don't want to grow old and not be able to have the stuff that I, like the hard-earned body that I work for gymnastics. Like, so how do I really ground that into who I am? And I ask them, I say, why do you want such and such? Why do you think that nutrition means to you? Okay, well, I wanted it for performance, and I wanted it for health, and I wanted it for gymnastics. Okay, why? Well, it's going to help me in my gymnastics reach my goals. And then I ask them again, why? Well, because I haven't really, felt like I have been able to achieve my potential. And then I ask them again, why?
Yeah.
Well, what happens if you keep asking somebody why 5 times, and a lot of times when I work with older people, they end up drilling down to the 5th reason is I want to be there for my kids so that I can play with them and be active and not be hindered. And I want to experience life with my kids. Now we've got something powerful, right?
It only took 5, but the 5th was the important one.
The 5th one.
Yeah.
So it's the 5 whys, And so once they drill down to that and they get to something really powerful, that is a value to them. Their kids mean so much to them, right? So you can link it to that. And a lot of times it's easier, and for gymnasts, sometimes it's easier because we all have goals as a gymnast, right? We all want to win states or make an Olympic team or win regionals or get a scholarship to a good university. And so when we can really go through some of these exercises, and it's really just one exercise, like, why do you want to do this? And keep redefining it. Why, until you get to that thing where something inside of you feel it. It like changes your emotional state. That's when you got it. And so, and then I like to turn that into a power statement, so like I care about nutrition, or I care about health and performance because I want to look, feel, and perform at my best for the rest of my life. That's my motto statement. And then when I'm faced with that donut, I'm faced with that donut or
that donut. Yep.
I'm not impervious to this. I'm not somebody but when I'm faced in those moments, I know my values. No, that doesn't resonate with my values. Right. So I don't know if I kind of summed it up right. It's a lot easier when you just go through the exercises, but essentially it's anchoring it. It's redefining it into power words that mean something that's like, that's what I want. And then asking yourself why you want those power words, and then finding that real deep reason, linking it in there, and then making a power statement out of it so that you can live by that value. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I was going to say too, that power word, or that idea that this is something that you have in your control that directly affects everything else. Like you have control over, because so much of what we deal with is uncontrollables, right? Like, I mean, we're all on this because of uncontrollables, but how you can kind of be your own scientist in a way that you can play with your nutrition to find out what works, what powers you in a really positive way, right?
Exactly. And then what that does for you is it makes you make choices from values and not emotions.
Yeah.
If you don't,
that donut's the emotion.
That donut is the emotion, and I want that donut, and I know it because they're like, it's been scientifically proven that when you even just walk by that Cinnabon in the airport, your insulin response, you will actually start to secrete insulin as if you ate that. So our body reacts physiologically to these foods. We're conditioned like Pavlov's dog. When the bell rings, we see that cookie and we get a physiological response, right?
Yeah. And I was going to say it's that mouth-watering sensation. Yeah. Like where you just go, now I wasn't hungry before, but now I'm hungry.
Yeah. And so, it's not about being perfect. You're never going to be perfect ever. And you don't even want to try to be perfect because that's a very boring life. And I did that for a long time, and it's not good. It doesn't work. And I always try to tell people, you want to aim for 85%. 85% success. And now that's not some arbitrary number, because a lot of nutrition people will tell you 90% whole foods, 90, and they'll tell you this number, 90%. But what does that mean, 90%? What is that based off of? 85% is if you ate 3 meals 7 days a week, you get 3 meals. So you go in one day, you pick 3 meals out of the week. And if you do, you're pretty much you're not going to notice the difference in terms of, you're going to stay in the pocket, and you're not going to hinder your performance or your health, in my opinion. And that's what a lot of experts say.
So, well, and you're up there with the experts you've studied this for years and kind of figured out how to maximize it. In terms of like breaking it down super simple so we can understand kind of the macros of a nutrition plan, right? Yeah. There are 3 big things that we have to keep in mind, right? Which are fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, right? And I know you've done some lectures about that, which I thought was super kind of empowering, is to kind of really understand what each one of those does for us. And they're all 3 super useful. We need to know when we're use which part.
Yeah, exactly. So, the beauty of looking at food in its components, which is fats, protein, and carbs, is that you can learn how to better mix them for the situation, right? And then you also learn how to select the best of each, right? So if we look at food in terms of like hamburger, lasagna, taco, just the name of the food, it doesn't really offer us the ability to move the levers, right? And we want to move those levers, and we want to maximize the levers to work for it. So, if you just look at the first one I always like to talk about is carbohydrates, because they have kind of a bad rap right now. The keto diet is huge, everybody's keto, right? And keto is all about eating a lot of fat, minimizing your carbs and your protein down, and becoming a burning machine, which is, it's great for athlete. It's good for it's good period of time for overweight people, but for an athlete, it's not going to work. An athlete has to have carbs, right?
Right.
But the problem is that there's so much sugar in all of the food that we eat. It's laced in everything we eat. And then also the fact that a lot of our food is processed now. We buy it packaged. And so, anytime you're eating processed food, it's already pre-digested. So you're going to absorb it more, and you're going to get more calories out of it, and it's going to hit you faster. Rather than like you can imagine eating a piece of chicken breast and some broccoli and some potato, right? Like that's not going to convert as fast as even like, let's say a bowl of oatmeal, right? That's kind of been processed. The grain has been broken down, and then even beyond that would be a frappuccino or, something like that.
Yeah. The Krispy Kreme down the street.
Yeah. So I would like to, I like to give the illustration of you have broccoli and you have a tablespoon of sugar. So really that head of broccoli, your body is going to get turned down for the most part. What is that table sugar? So it's all going to get broken down to glucose. Table sugar is half glucose and half something else, but fructose. But for the most part, it's head of broccoli. It's going to get broken down into sugar, right? Glucose. And glucose, so it doesn't matter what carb you eat, in your body it's going to get broken down. But that head of broccoli has so much fiber in it that it takes a while for your digestion to break it down. And so it's more complex, right? And we've all heard of complex carbs.
Right.
And so that's going to give you more of a steady flow of glucose rather than giving you like rocket fuel. So you don't find just table sugar in nature, right? So it takes like over 20 feet of cane stalk to make a tablespoon of cane sugar.
So that has to be super processed down by the time it gets to us.
Exactly, right? So what you want to do is outside of your workout, you really want to, in your meals, that's why everyone says stick to whole foods, your vegetables and your your more of your rice and your sweet potatoes are really good carbs. All, vegetables are carbs, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. Vegetables are carbs, right? So even our like grains can be good, like that stuff is complex. But there is a need potentially for a simple sugar.
Yeah.
And when we need that is immediately after practice, because we store sugar all in our muscles. And when we work out, we're dumping that sugar into our system to be used. And so our muscles, the cells, are hungry for glucose. And that broccoli isn't necessarily going to replenish that quickly. So a lot of times I always tell athletes, if you want something sweet or you want to eat something sweet, the window you can do it is 2 hours before, during, or after a workout, because that's when your body is going to be dumping sugar into your system and it's going to be hungry to be refueled, right?
Yeah.
And so does that make sense?
Yep.
And then the rest of your workouts, or the meals, you really try to stick to more complex stuff. And even if you're going to work out an hour, if you eat an hour before practice, have complex carbs, but you can eat something sweet during practice. You can get away with that. You can get away with it like after you trained really hard.
Yeah.
Because what happens, this is the final piece of carbs. If you keep eating all of this really processed sugar, you're going to, the insulin, which is a carrier protein, latches onto that glucose and it takes it to the cell and it acts as a little loading dock and it delivers the glucose into the cell. If you keep doing that all day long, you're going to downregulate those receptors on the cell and you're not going to be accepting sugar anymore. So I give this example. If your buddy called you once a day, would you answer the phone?
Maybe once. Yeah, I would answer it once a day.
If he called you every minute on the minute, every single day, would you answer every one of those phone calls?
That might go to voicemail a little bit more often.
Exactly. So
you might check it and put it down.
Exactly. So that's what your body's doing when you're overloading it with sugar. Is it's saying, hey, we're not taking it anymore. And then what does the body do? It stores that as fat.
Yeah.
And that's why carbs have gotten a bad rap, is because people overweight, they become what's called insulin resistant. And if you do that over the course of 20 years, you're going to become a diabetic. And so that's how that disease happens, And so that's the breakdown for carbs, Do you have any questions on that? Anybody have any questions on that?
I know we're looking, Drew had asked us a question about building muscle and what kind of foods help build muscle. So that kind of, I think, would lead us into the next step would be proteins, absolutely. Right?
Yep, absolutely. So if you look at like, how does protein work? So everyone knows what protein is pretty much. Steak and poultry and fish and eggs. Dairy has some of in it. I mean, yogurt, So if you take a steak, if you imagine a steak, it gets broken down. When it gets broken down into your digestion as what's called amino acids, those are like little Legos together to make protein. So your body takes the steak, it digests it into amino acids, and then your body takes all those amino acids and it rebuilds them and makes your body. It makes your muscles, it makes half of your bone, it makes your tendons, your ligaments, your hormones, your neurotransmitters, your blood, your skin, your organs, your hair, like it's everything. And so I see a lot of gymnasts that come into the gym and they are not recovering and they're constantly sore. They feel beat up. They have injuries that they can't recover from. And then a lot of times they get sick if they get pushed too hard. Well, amino acids also make up your immune system. They make up your white blood cells. They make up these things that fend off, invaders. So those people, most of the time, I always put them on amino acids to all work very quick. And the way to do is you explain you have 20 amino acids. 8 of them are what's called essential.
Right.
The body cannot make those 8. So what you do is you take an amino acid supplement, and I actually brought it for this thing. This is called the Amino Complex.
Yeah.
It's made by Thorne, top supplement company in the world. And that is just 8 essential aminos in the right amounts. You take that on an empty stomach right after practice. And what that does is it immediately starts the process of your body being able to recover and build tissue and muscle tissue to recover and get stronger. And your body can, you can make the other 12.
Yeah.
So if you give it to 8 before you've had dinner, you just immediately get done. Take 2 scoops of this on an empty stomach. Immediately your body's going to be able to start recovering. And then the other beauty is that when you go home, you eat a meal with, have protein at every meal.
Yeah.
You just can't recover. You have to do it every single meal. When you go home and you eat your meal, you're going to get more amino acids from, let's say, the protein you eat. Now, the fact that you have more essentials in the body means that you're going to be able to make more protein from all those that other protein that you ate. So it's a clever, really safe, amazing way to just up your recovery, help you heal from injuries, and really keep your body from getting sick when you train too hard. It's just a magical supplement. And then the other, I don't know if you have much experience with it, but, I mean, the other thing you can do is you can just use protein powder too. And protein powder is a little bit closer to food.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And so,
tell me this too, because this is how I've understood it. Those essential amino acids, or we'll get we'll see that as BCAAs or branch complex amino acids, right?
well, BCAAs are three of them. So you have isoleucine, valine, and what's the big one? The big one is here. I'll just look it up right here. Leucine and isoleucine and valine. Those are the three branch chains. That's what people were doing. It was real popular a couple of years ago, but
we need all eight.
We need all eight. That's what the study is showing, that, because it's a rate limiting factor. So if I am building a house and I have unlimited wood and unlimited bricks, but I only have a limited supply of nails and mortar, I can only build as many houses as
you're only going so far.
Right. And so that's what happens. Your body actually will turn those aminos into carbohydrate. Why carbohydrate and protein have the same calories, 4 calories per gram. But there's no calories if your body turns that into a piece of your body.
Yeah.
Only converts it. Your body's very smart. It can convert things to other things as it needs.
Yeah.
But missing the essentials, which you can only get from food, then you run the risk of not being able to build that house, which is that muscle, right? We need to build that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And those amino acids help transport your protein intake as well towards your muscles, towards everything else, right? I mean, that's something it's kind of helping as a transport system?
Well, what they do is they build all of the infrastructure. So your enzymes and these transporters, I told you about insulin. Insulin is a protein.
Yeah.
That's what it is. When you have cholesterol, which is delivering fat to parts of your body, it's attached to the lipoprotein. When your body has to catalyze food into energy, it uses something called enzymes. They are these things that make one thing convert into something else. That's made of protein. So when you're lacking aminos, especially athletes who are they're so beat up and their body prioritizes, it's going to prioritize your immune system and survival to that muscle. Look,
right.
It's great that you want to build this muscle up and you're doing this gymnastics thing. I hear you, but I got to keep you alive. I've got to make other things happen.
Priority number one.
So, the easy way to think of protein, just protein at every meal, good lean protein, every single meal. And then if you're eating a meal that doesn't have protein, let's say you have a bowl of oatmeal with some bananas for breakfast, take some protein powder like whey or a brown rice and pea protein, with some milk and some ice, and make a little protein shake with that. Now you've rounded out that meal. And then the essential aminos you always take on an empty stomach, because you're prioritizing the essentials, because those amino acids compete for digestive absorption.
Right.
So if you just throw this in with a meal, they're going to have to compete with all those other aminos that aren't necessarily essential.
You're diluting that digestion a little bit if you're just throwing it all in the pot at the same time.
Yeah. So I always just say protein with every meal. If you round out your meal or with a protein shake, or if for some reason you're about to go to workout and you need fuel and you haven't eaten, take protein shake and add some carb and some fat to it so you get the energy. And then after your workouts, use something like this to start that recovery process, and you're good to go. That is all you'll ever need to know or do, in my opinion, besides taking high quality protein. You want to kind of avoid that hasn't been injected with antibiotics and hormones.
Right. I think that was going to be one of my next questions. I know a couple of the people on the chat had asked the same thing. In terms of a protein powder, do you have a suggestion between, there's all kinds, right? There's plant-based, there's whey protein, there's casein proteins. So what should we be looking for, say, for a right after workout? Obviously, our goal would be to eat as much natural whole food protein as we can, because it has all the other nutrients in it as well. But if we're running out of workout, what would your suggestion be?
I like whey. It works. I mean, it really works.
Yeah.
It does have a nice amino acid profile, so it's a complete protein. And then I also like, if you sometimes people with whey, they can be lactose intolerant, like dairy intolerant. They can kind of upset their stomach. So then, or if they're or like a plant-based eater, then they can switch to a pea, but you want to round that out with brown rice so that it is a complete protein. And again, I'm really partial to Thorne, this company. My website that I built is I really back these guys. They are partnered with 12 national teams, and they do the highest level of purity and testing. And anyone that goes to the website, we can talk about it later. I'm not trying to just necessarily plug it, but I'm very partial to them because it's clean and it's tested and it's pure. So you know what's on the bottle, so what's in the bottle, and it's been certified safe for sports. So a person like a LeBron James getting paid millions of dollars to do basketball would never fail a drug test with something like this. And I like real legit stuff in my body.
Right.
I didn't learn all this stuff to just be willy-nilly with this,
And supplements can be a little sketchy sometimes because you have to really be able to read your labels on those supplements, because I mean, a lot of times they'll put in like their proprietary blends, which you don't really know what's going into that stuff.
Exactly. You want a company that has full transparency in what they're putting in it.
Yeah.
And you're right. They hide things in what proprietary blends. You want ones. I mean, look. Let's just. I'm just going to say it. The FDA does not regulate the supplement industry, so you can put in anything you want, right? And what happens is a lot of these companies that don't own their own machines, they end up contracting a manufacturer to do it, and those machines are being used to process 1,000 other companies' supplements, and so there's residuals on those machines. Whereas Thorne, again, they own their own machines, they clean them, and they test each supplement 4 times for purity. So I just, for me, I like companies like that. They're not the only one in the world that's like that. There's other ones like Pure Encapsulations is really good. But you want to be careful. And then the other thing you want to be careful for if you're taking like a multivitamin is that you're not taking like synthetic forms that your body can't really use. Yeah. So there's the easiest one to look for if you have a multivitamin is look on the back of it where B9 is. Mm-hmm. And if it should be folate. And more specifically, something called methyl tetrahydrofolate. If it says folic acid, then you know it's in synthetic form, and you know that everything else in that bottle is synthetic. It hasn't been developed by a team of researchers and doctors, and you can throw it in the garbage because there's a percentage of the population for folic acid to folate. And so you could be trying to do all good. What happens is it accumulates into something called homocysteine, which is a marker for cardiovascular health and heart attack. So, it's one thing to like know what to take. It's another thing to hunt down the right source of it. And that's, once you get those two, then you're in the mix,
Yeah. So keep an eye out. That's a good thing to look for too, because I mean, a lot of times you're either putting stuff you don't want into your body, or you're putting stuff that doesn't do anything for it anyway.
Yeah, like you'll have like this amino acid supplement we talked about. Well, every amino acid has, you always know it's an amino acid because it says L, like L-arginine, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, there's also an R form, but biologically, if you look at biochemistry, can't use the R form. There's a few, but in the essentials, you can't use it. So in the body, none of these R forms are made. But when companies make this, half of it is the R form and half of it's the L form. So you can just, half of your supplement is a waste of money. So you want a company that knows that kind of stuff and that's going to give you all of the L form. And that's something that not a lot of people know.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that I should be looking for L versus R in terms of a supplement. I know I like.
Well, they're not going to tell you.
Yeah,
they're not going to tell you.
Yeah. No, they won't put that on the front label. Hey, this half not important, but we're putting it in anyway. It's sawdust.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the other thing we didn't talk about was fat, but
Yeah.
fat, if you don't eat fried fats, I mean, try to avoid fried food because, your body makes your cells, every cell in your body, every organ, every muscle, everything it has is made up of cells. And that membrane is made up of fat. And that membrane you want strong to keep things that don't belong from being inside and things that belong inside from getting out. And also you want that cell membrane to be healthy because it has those receptors that are picking up all that information, right? That's carrying the sugar there, it's carrying the hormones. That's how your body communicates through those receptors. And so when you eat really bad fats, you have this brittle and weak and diluted cell membrane that just doesn't communicate very well. But also it inflames your body because it doesn't bend properly like a cell, and so it can't go through your capillaries and push through those capillaries that are only one cell thick and get blood to those elbows and those ankles and some of those small joint areas. And so that's why I always recommend a good fish oil because we don't get enough omega-3s in our diet. But no fried food. It's really good to supplement with a fish oil because it's an omega-3 and that's essential. And we're eating way too many omega-6s, which is in vegetable oils and all that stuff it out. And then careful heating up your fats and really, denature and causing them to oxidize and become inflammatory. Avocados are great. Olive oil is great because all you have to do is press the olive and it turns into oil. You don't have to heat it. You don't got to do anything to it. And so you need fats for energy and carbs for energy, and protein you want to think of as a building block that makes my body, right?
Yeah. And Karen had asked, so we jump back to protein for just a little bit because she said her kids are always asking about how much protein should be intaking or consuming in a day.
Well,
that's pretty variable, but there's at least
Yeah, and so there's if you look at every all the different nutrition organizations, you have the International Sports Nutrition, you have all these different ones. Yeah. And roughly they're always about for an athlete 0.8 per pound of body weight. But the easiest way to think of it is if you eat real whole foods, your body will tell you how many chicken breasts can you honestly eat? Right. Yeah. And it scales down to kids too. How many eggs, how many lean pieces of chicken breast, or meat can you honestly eat? A kid will eat, we're designed to know this. Where we get into trouble is when we start eating fake engineered chemicals, overdrives our appetite, and it's been processed so they're nutrients. So our body's I'm still hungry and nutrients. Yeah. So it keeps eating. But if you're eating whole foods, which I think we all know what whole foods are, they're just minimal processed foods, your body's going to kind of tell you. And then when you're using, something like an amino complex, I think 2 scoops immediately after practice is a great way to safely take it. You can give kids up to 30 grams. 2 scoops would be 10. So you can, young kids, you can give up safely up to 30 grams. So you have a lot of headroom with this. If you're injured and you're recovering from a massive injury, then you can updose this to 2 to 3 times a day. When I tore my Achilles, I was doing it 2 scoops 3 times a day. And that really helped to repair, I had to reconnect and grow all that tendon. Yeah. So protein, usually every scoop across the board is always 20 grams. Right. If you're a small kid, if you're in, 10, 11, 12, you'll probably get away with half a scoop, 10 grams. If you're an adult, 20. And the science is even showing that 30 grams, if you have a 30 gram small petite, filet or something like that, you're going to get 30 grams protein in that easy. So you push up to 30, I would cap each meal at 30 grams max. Whole foods, you just use your own diet, your own natural hunger satiating. And then for essential aminos, 2 scoops after practice is safe for just about everyone. If you're injured, you can dose that at different times of the day.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question? Hopefully that will.
That was a lot. One thing going into the whey protein, and tell me if I'm way off of kind of what I had heard in terms of the science is, if you're using whey specifically, and we're talking like for our athletes, for gymnasts, the whey, no pun intended, but the whey protein breaks down into your protein in your body, converts or pulls some calcium storage. So what, at least from what I have heard, you've got to be careful a little bit about that when you're younger in terms of just making sure that you're not becoming calcium deficient. Any truth to that, or am I off?
I haven't seen any compelling research on that. I think that the best way to manage now I'm not saying that, look, if you're eating whey protein, it's not even, you don't want to do whey more than once a day. Like
right.
That's been like historically, that's kind of shown to be the best practice. But the best
don't go way overboard is what you're saying.
Don't go way overboard. But the best way to manage. Now, everyone thinks, like calcium, let me just take calcium. And the thing is, you got to look at calcium with four actual nutrients. You need vitamin D, you need magnesium, you need vitamin K2, and then calcium. So vitamin D is going to help you absorb calcium. Yeah. Vitamin K2 is going to deliver it to the bones. So vitamin D helps you absorb it, right? Vitamin K helps deliver it to the bones instead of depositing it in your joints or your arteries. And the magnesium and vitamin D kind of work together to help make them both work. So magnesium is kind of a helper for everything. Magnesium is very important. And so I always like to say, make sure that, you get your, before you just start jamming your body with calcium, because calcium will make your muscles contract. And so a lot of people will get a lot of muscle cramping with calcium. The magnesium acts as your muscle. Those two balance each other. Every mineral has a balancing mineral. So zinc and copper, magnesium and calcium. So you don't want to just load up on calcium. You want to make sure you're getting vitamin D, vitamin K2, and magnesium. And where do we get vitamin D primarily?
I think, isn't that your kind of sunlight? Am I off on that one?
No, you're absolutely. It's so important that your body makes it from the sun. But what do gymnasts do?
Yeah, we're in practice all day.
And then they go to practice all day long, right?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of stress fractures. I can't tell you how many girls come into the gym and they're vitamin D deficient. I go, my doctor told me I'm vitamin D deficient. It's like, of course you are. You're not taking anything for it, and you're not getting out in the sun. You're just not going to get it from food. You're just not going to do it. And our ancestors, what did we do? We work out in the field. I mean, like we haven't evolved long enough from our ancestors of, however long, I don't know, millions of years, And so
right.
Vitamin D, like I always recommend that's why I recommend in my program a multivitamin that will have all that in it. And then if you're going through a growth spurt and your bones are growing, so, I forgot, the other thing you need with bone health is protein. Why? Because 40 to 50% of your bone is made up of a collagen matrix, which is protein. Yeah. So you got to think of this collagen matrix, and then calcium is like spackled, and phosphorus is spackled onto it, and that's what hardens it, right?
Yeah.
So not being protein deficient, which a lot of gymnasts are, not being vitamin D deficient, which a lot of gymnasts are, not getting vitamin K2, which a lot of gymnasts are, and then not getting magnesium, which a lot of same thing. Once you get taken care of, kind of typically you can get by without having to supplement calcium. If you're postmenopausal or you're going through a massive growth spurt where your body's actually like building a lot of bone and laying down a lot of like bone, fiber, then I recommend that, at that point, you can safely take calcium, but not at the expense of having those other ones, because you don't want to just jam calcium into your body.
Right. Yeah. It's all about maintaining a good balance. And I think that for the most part comes from making sure we're eating the right kind of food. I mean, the right whole food and keeping it balanced like that, not eating a lot of one thing or another thing. But the vitamin D sounds like something that's like we can consider that as supplementation as well.
Yeah, because you have to look at it. Each nutrient doesn't work in isolation. It's orchestrated. Right. So you have the nutrient is basically helped by another nutrient, and then it's also assisted by a nutrient, and then maybe that whole process was dependent on another nutrient. And so really, I like to basically provide what I call dietary insurance, right? Like we all have insurance in our cars, we have health insurance, we have life insurance, we have, all this insurance, right? Well, you want dietary insurance. And how do you get that? You get that from a really good, world-class, high-caliber multivitamin that's got the right nutrients in the right proportions, and that's been developed by researchers and doctors, and they're not synthetic. And that's just going to bulletproof your diet. Because let's face it, sometimes we eat really well, and sometimes we eat garbage. Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But on a daily basis, you need to make sure that you're getting, because look, if you're an athlete, you don't need the RDA. You need more than the RDA. In fact, everyone needs more than the RDA. What is the RDA designed for? The recommended daily allowance.
Yeah.
It's designed to prevent you from having disease. The vitamin D recommendation is to prevent you from hits. It's not designed to make you optimal. It's not designed to help you endure 20 to 30 hours of work a week.
Right.
I mean, you're burning through so many nutrients and B vitamins and all these different nutrients that you're really just, the sport has evolved to such a competitive level that, the same reason why I can be really athletic and go in the gym and do some stuff and show some kids some stuff on the equipment is because I do this stuff. And I think every gymnast should really consider a proper, safe, researched, supplement program. Very basic, multivitamin and mineral, some fish oil, throw some essential aminos in there, and then you have some protein powder on hand. And then I also like to use something called Mariva 500, which is curcumin that's bound to like a fat to make it absorbable. And it's a natural anti-inflammatory. So you're popping ibuprofen and Aleve and Noxiprosa, all this anti-inflammatories, which will harm your gut. They cause gastrointestinal bleeding. They cause kidney disease or problems. They cause heart problems. And so we want to get off of those and get more on like a plant-based natural version that's been around for thousands of years, and so more of a gentle everyday one you can take. It's got a lot of profound health benefits just besides inflammation. So, I mean, I'm kind of blazing through this. I hope people are keeping up,
Yeah, well, I did warn them that a lot of them that you're just like a fountain of information. And so that's the nice thing about this is that we can go back through. It'll be up on YouTube. So as we go through, you guys leave comments and questions and we'll get back to that kind of stuff. Talk about, because we're kind of, fats and carbs and proteins and how that generally affect our optimal performance either in the gym or not. So you've built a website that kind of helps optimize the supplemental and kind of all this stuff that we've talked about. So where did you come, tell me about the website.
Well, I started helping some people in my gym and then I started getting parents coming up to me, and then I started getting other athletes coming up to me. And I finally just said, well, I obviously like talking about this stuff, but I was like, why am I explaining the same thing over and over? So I just said, I'm just going to build a simple website, and then all of a sudden that launches you into like, I got to learn how to do web stuff. I got to learn how to do all, this and that and shoot video. And fortunately I had a little bit of some experience with that in the past, but I just built this website, and it was just a fun sort of hobby, a way for me to kind of put my info out there. And it's pretty much ready to go. It's sort of in a beta version still. So some of the stuff, I want to kind of clean up because, we're all gymnasts, we're perfectionists, right? But
yeah, exactly.
It's
always refining.
Yeah, and so, but if you go, it's at, I call it Gymnast Nutrition. If you go to www.gymnastnutrition.com, You can sign up there. You can learn about that on the sales page. You sign up, and then you automatically get entered into my Thorne dispensary. I work with Thorne, and then I set you up, at least right now during all this stuff. I'm giving everyone who signs up a 20% lifetime discount on Thorne's products. And if you set them up on, when I got this deal years ago, I was so happy because I was like, this is amazing. And then order the stuff automatically, so you can say, well, I'm just going to reorder my multivitamin, my fish oil. You'll get an additional 10% off, and so you get 30% and free shipping.
Jeez.
It's a no-brainer. And so you can sign up at gymnastnutrition.com. If you have any technical problems, because again, it's kind of in a beta, you can email me at Stephen with a PH, that's STEPHEN at gymnastnutrition.com, and I'll help you through it. And maybe if you couldn't sign up or something, you get put into my system. I send you an email with all the recommendations, and then the course walks you through 4 steps, and it takes you through picking out your perfect multivitamin, your perfect fish oil, and then your performance supplements, and then ties it all together, shows you how to order it, shows you how to get an amazing discount, and then you are solid. I everything I recommend, I take on a daily basis. And I think it's just, I'm really happy to bring that, because whole life in this, and I just believe every gymnast should have the opportunity to their potential. And I know from all this stuff that nutrition is a factor. And I'm a huge believer in the 1%. If you are 1% better every day, you are 37 times better at the end of the year. Huge. If you took that and you did that over a course of 10 years, you break the Google spreadsheet. So it's not that you get 37 times better every year. You get 37 times, and it's 243, then it starts growing exponentially. This is how you become world class at something. It's all about the 1%, right?
Yep. To relate to that, one of the things we're going to talk about in kind of a later episode, which is a new book that I'm reading for mental conditioning, is about the inch, about how the grind and the greatness isn't made from giant steps. It's the difference between an inch to this direction or an inch to this direction is huge. Exactly That's your 1%. And changing, like you said at the beginning, it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. If you're running your nutrition right now, if you're thinking about this at 30% and you bump that up to 40%, you've already seen that improvement. You've already seen the change. And some of these supplements that you might be missing could take that 1% better over the course of time, or 1 inch change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you just say all of a sudden you're not magnesium deficient. What does magnesium do? It helps you make protein and energy. It assists all your B vitamins. So it's like, wait a second. That's exactly, I mean, isn't that what we're doing working out? We're making proteins and repairing and building muscle, and we're basically expending energy, There's my 2 favorite books on this sort of topic about the little one is The Compound Effect and then Atomic Habits. So those 2 books are a great read, because look, if you decide you want to be a world-class athlete, an Olympian, a state champ, let's say you say, I want to be national champion this year.
Yep.
How do you do that? You do that by acting as if every single day. So you do the things that a national champion would do every single day. It isn't like, oh, if I just learned this one skill, or if I hit this routine. No. I'm going to behave like a national champion in all the facets of my life.
Right.
Do I take care of my sleep, or am I staying up all night on social media? Am I taking care of my nutrition? Do I come into workouts with an intention? Am I really putting forth, the effort? Am I overcoming my fear and really tackling those things that are getting the best of me? And it's the same with nutrition. It's like, you don't become fit and lean and strong and have a ton of energy by it's by being able to connect with that value where you say, no, I want this, I want these things in my life. Like, I want energy, I want performance, I want health, I want longevity, I want vibrance, I want to just, and then I'm going to act as if everything that I do is going to be a part of that,
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, that's where Well said. That's inspirational. Now I feel like I've got to go work out after that. Like I've got to get my 1% on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and even like quarantine has been challenging, right? Even like for me, I mean, I work out practically every single day, and like I found myself kind of going like, and I was like, I don't care if I do if it's one push-up. I don't care if it's just whatever it is. So I just some tiny little small goals, and sudden once you realize like, oh, I love this. It's just the start point. It's like, and so nutrition doesn't have to be that confusing if you just literally set the intention. Go through my course; it will help you. Like it will get you 95% there, and if you need the 5% support from me, just reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to kind of fill in the gaps and but this stuff doesn't need to be that complex. Stick to some whole foods. Keep your sweets close to 2 hours before, during, or after workout. Stay away from fried foods, as much as you can, within that 85% range. Make sure you're getting protein with every meal, and then provide some dietary insurance for your gymnastics goals with a good supplement protocol, a good base that's been proven by research-backed supplements that have stood the test of time. They got a lot of research behind them that's in doctors and researchers are recommending. They're in, trials all over the world, clinical trials. They're written up in all sorts of performance research and journals. And so why not leverage that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Well, geez, Stephen, thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. I know it was super useful for me. One more question. I know Karen had asked, what do you think about turmeric?
Okay, so curcumin, the Mariva 500 I talked about, if you go to my site, you'll see me recommend Mariva 500. That's an Italian patent for something that is curcumin, which is the active ingredient of turmeric. So that's the actual part of turmeric that makes it anti-inflammatory. The problem is if you just go to Whole Foods and you buy a big bag of turmeric powder, I've been putting it in food in your body doesn't absorb it. It doesn't, your body will just flush it out. So it's got to be bound to a fat. So you could increase the absorption of it by putting it with some fat, but if you can get it bound to a fat, like in a formula like Mariva 500, they've done it at like this, at such a small level. That's when that compound really comes to life. And so, again, the devil's in the details, right? It's not just, I'm taking my B vitamins. Well, are they synthetic? Because those can be risky. I'm taking my turmeric. Well, you're not really absorbing it unless you're really binding it with a fat.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we'll have to check. Yeah. So where did you say where do we check? Where do we get the specific on that? What did you say the company was called? The patent is called Mariva 500. Again, it's in my supplement website, gymnastnutrition.com. And everything I recommend is made by Thorne. Thorne will basically Mariva 500. Got it. Okay, so it's a Thorne. It's another Thorne company as well. So if we check out the website.
Yeah, I mean, if you have joint pain and stuff like that, Mariva coupled with fish oil, that is a nice 1-2 punch.
Oh, cool. Well, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was fantastic. I had a blast.
No, I like what you're doing. I think this is like you said at the beginning about the ingenuity of what everyone's doing, and we need more of this. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and I had a good time. Thank you for letting me spread the word on nutrition.
Yeah, brother. Thank you. Well, we'll have to have you back on because I want more. We didn't even touch on too much of the ninja story and your story because that's impactful. So we've got another episode down the line to have you back on just to share that part.
Anytime you want, I'll chat with you.
Cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Man. Talk to you later. Bye. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was so awesome. So I hope that was useful for you. If you've got more questions, please leave them in comments. We'll put this video up on YouTube forever as well, so you can check it out if we went fast through anything, because I know that was a lot of information. Next Wednesday at 5:30, my friend Ian Campbell's going to come on. We're going to do another coaches talk. He's going to talk a little bit about some different ways of training while we're at home. He's a big proponent and big into CrossFit, so he's been using that in some interesting ways at home to kind of get creative with how we're doing training at home. So check it out. I'm having so much fun. We're going to try and do this twice a week. So Wednesday at 5:30, we'll have Ian on. Come check that out. And until then, well, guys, we'll see you in the next one.